Hey, everybody. This is Painful Lessons. My name is Tyler Ramsey, and I'm here with my partner, Ben Goldhirsch. And we have a guest today that I am crazy excited about. His name is Brian Banks, and you might have heard about him in a movie that's called The Brian Banks Story. And it has certain stars. Morgan Freeman plays his mentor in the movie. Greg Kinnear is in it, who I've always thought Greg Kinnear is such an awesome actor. But the Brian Banks story is so special because Brian Banks, at the age of 16 years old, was getting ready to be a football star. He was at the age of 16, he had already signed on to play at USC. And at the time, he found himself in a situation. He was with a girl, and the girl said that he raped her, and his life was destroyed for a period of time as a result. He served 6 years, or he had a 6-year sentence, and the girl later came back to him and surprised him after he had served his time, and she apologized for making up the story. He was able to record that conversation, and that evidence, along with her story or her admitting that she never was raped, allowed him to free himself of the remaining 5 years of probation and all of the terrible baggage that someone experiences when they were a sexual predator and everything else. So I want to make it so very clear at the beginning of this interview, because otherwise the context just doesn't make sense. This is someone whose life was preparing to explode. He was going to be a football star, and he was accused of rape, and then later unquestionably was acquitted, and unquestionably was able to provide proof that the story was fabricated. So this is someone that has experienced incredible injustice and incredible punishment, was had in the prime of his life, his football career was destroyed. And later, he was able to play in the pros after years and years for the Falcons. But it wasn't the career that he had hoped for. And he still has maintained the attitude of a champion. He hasn't let these resentments destroy him. He hasn't let what could have been weigh him down. And now he's dedicated to his life, to a life of service. He is a coach. He helps people that are athletes. He helps people that are holding in resentments, and he has a coaching career. You can find him at brianbanksfree.com. And the only reason I'm doing this long intro is because, honestly, this context just of what he says just doesn't make sense unless you understand that this is a man that was innocent, that served time in his prime, and has managed to have one of the greatest attitudes and spirits of anyone I've ever met. Brian, I hope that intro did justice to your story, which I'm so moved by.
Thank you, brother. What an intro. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. It's good to see you. It's really good to be a part of this and have this opportunity, like I said, to continue to share my story in hopes of enlightening people and informing people on the many stories that are similar to mine. So I appreciate it, brother. It's good to see you.
Of course, you have one of the most inspiring stories, and it is, I think, you have a quality in you that I think that we would all be so lucky to have, and that we should all work to have. You have experienced an incredibly rough, painful lesson, and that you were accused of a crime that you didn't commit. And
Right.
it becomes very clear that you didn't commit it, but you were accused of rape when you were 16 years old.
Right.
And you ended up serving 6 years. Is it 6 years?
Yeah. 6 year sentence, and I served a total of 5 years and 2 months of the 6 year sentence.
Okay. And at the end of that, you were approached by the accuser and you were able to record her making it very clear that she had made the story up and that the story was fabricated. And that is the evidence that allowed you to get off. So it's so interesting. It's like rape is such a terrible word, and to be associated with it in any way just feels almost like dangerous, as
Yep.
if you're walking around saying the N word or something. It's like
Right.
it's just to be close to it. So I feel that I would be remiss if I didn't say again and again, you have been very obviously cleared of all of that, despite going and serving massive prison time and being attached to this label for any amount of time. But
Yes,
what's
that's correct.
amazing is you have this, you never let it beat you. So if you wouldn't mind backing up and telling the story for our viewers.
Yeah, sure. Yes, you're right about a lot of that, and so I'll touch on the points that you also mentioned. But my story dates back to 2002. I was 16 years old, and I was an aspiring football player, student athlete. Had all the talent in the world. I was at the time of my unfortunate arrest for this wrongful accusation. I was 16 years old. I was about 6'1", 6'2", 225 pounds. I mean, star athlete. I was being recruited by every D1, D2 college you could think of. And I had actually verbally committed to USC on a full scholarship,
Wow.
ending my junior year in high school. So things were beginning to line up for me at that time. The future, in some ways, so I thought, was beginning to reveal itself in a sense where I finally found something that I was good at. I finally found something that people acknowledged me for, and this was something that could carry me on to something even greater, something even bigger, and even an opportunity to help my family along the way. So I was in a really good space at this time. I was ending my junior year. This was the summer going into my senior year, which was the biggest year for me at the time. I was to lead my defense, my high school football team's defense as our defensive leader, and be one of our team leaders for the high school football team as well. So it was a lot going on at that time. I
So a
believe I was
total
even.
stud, and you were, I mean, just talk about top of the world. You had already told USC, a spectacular school, that you were going to play for them, and you were
Yep.
16 years old.
Yeah, man. I was ranked 11th in the nation as a middle linebacker. Yeah, man, I wish I had a photo to show you me at 16. I got this cool one. I'll
Ah,
send it over to you. But yeah,
yeah.
me and the guys, we took football as serious as one could take it. It was everything for us. So,
Ah,
but yeah, so this was July 8th, 2002. I was just coming back from a long weekend for the 4th of July. Actually, take that back. It wasn't a long weekend. I remember after the 4th, we actually had to come back to school and finish out that week. So it was towards the end of the week, July 8th.
wow.
There was a film crew that was supposed to show up on our campus because they were filming this documentary about the two best or the two top high school football teams in the nation were coming together for the first high school national championship game ever. It was Long Beach Poly, who I played for, and we were playing against Concord de la Salle, which had Maurice Jones-Drew and a bunch of other great players. So this was the first championship game on this scale for
Wow.
high school, and this was a big opportunity for me coming into the year at that time. So this documentarian was going to show up. He was going to film me going through my day-to-day life on campus and kind of highlight some of the top players. And so I get to campus. I'm waiting for this guy. He's delaying. He's not there. He's not answering the phone. And around this time, this was 2002. Cell phones weren't really like a big thing in high school. Not a lot of kids had cell phones. It was starting to open up.
Yeah.
So I remember being in one of my classes, and I asked a friend, a female friend, if I could use her cell phone and step outside of class to call this guy, see what time he was going to show up for to do the filming. So she gives me the cell phone. I asked my teacher if I could step out of class to use the phone. And it would have been, I'm not pointing fingers or blaming anything. It would have been as simple as him saying yes, and I step outside the class, make the call, and came right back in. But he said, if you want to make this phone call, I want you to take these papers, and I want you to head over to the 100 building, which was in the middle of the high school campus. And he said, I want you to deliver these papers to the office, and then you can make your call along the way. So I take the papers, and instead of just standing outside of class, I'm now walking. Sorry, my dog is barking in the background.
It's okay.
So I'm now walking to another side of campus. And as I'm walking there, I run into someone that I've known for a really long time, since middle school. So it's probably what, three years or so. And she and I engaged in a hug and a small talk of, what are you up to? Where are you going? And some flirting began, and we both agreed that we would go to an area, which at the time was a well-known makeout spot that a lot of people knew about. And so I went and delivered the papers. We
Hmm.
came back out, and we started to make our way to this location. Now, in order to get to this place, there are some obstacles that you had to take. You had to go into an elevator. You had to walk across a top floor, which had classrooms and teachers and students that were currently in session. And you had to successfully get past these people. And I mean that because this was a very secure building that only certain people were supposed to be in at that time. So if
Oh,
you
wait.
weren't,
I know why you're explaining. I know why you're harping on that because you were also charged with kidnapping. So you're explaining that you took this flirtation hand in hand. You walked her through this hallway that wasn't like an empty hallway. It was a hallway filled with classrooms in session.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Got
And
it.
you're spot on. I'm setting the stage to explain the fact that once that I was arrested, I was charged with kidnapping.
Yeah.
She would later tell them that I pulled her and grabbed her and forcefully yanked her across this hallway while she fought me off. And no one heard anything. She didn't scream for help or anything. But going back to that, we make it across this hallway. We get down to the end of the hallway, and there's a flight of stairs that takes you to the bottom of stair one, of floor one. Once you get to
Right.
floor one, there's this landing that's covered from the top steps. There's only the doors that lets you out, that you can't come in. So it's like a little spot that people would go to. And we
Make
get
out
there,
point.
and we get there, and we start making out. And we're touching, we're kissing. We never had sex, but in my mind, I was thinking this may get to that point. And so as it's moving on and moving on, um, something happened for me that totally um, just threw me off of the situation, and it took me from wanting to do this to no longer wanting to do this.
Okay.
And when that happened, um, I tried my best to play it off, to move on, and make jokes about how I had been out of class for too long, and the teacher was gonna, grill me for it, and I got to get back. And I tried to assure her that we would get back to this, and this is no big deal. I just got to get going. And she seemed a bit kind of upset about it, but I felt like at a point where she showed somewhat of a smile, I thought that that was enough. And
Yeah.
I, pushed out the doors, and I left. Um,
So you weren't you like interrupted?
so
Didn't
yes,
somebody?
yeah. At one point while we were making out, there was a teacher who came out of class upstairs where we had just came down from.
Right.
She was using the phone, speaking in Spanish. I'm not sure who she was talking to. Obviously, I don't speak Spanish.
Right.
But she was right above us, and we stopped making out. We kind of tucked ourselves behind the landing, the top part of the landing, where if she looked down, she couldn't see us. And we just waited it out for a couple minutes until she finished her call,
Sure.
and then started making out again. But that's also a good mention. That was an opportunity which we did show in court documents, that she could have made noise and screamed. She acknowledged that she saw that person, heard that person, and
Sure.
the person was there too. So but still not enough for them to see the many inconsistencies in her story.
Yeah.
So once I left the area, I went back to class, gave the girl her cell phone back, sat back down. I didn't get a hold of the guy. He never answered his call. I left him a message, and he actually never showed up that day to film. Um, his name is Dan Freeman. I don't know why I still remember his name. Maybe because it was such a huge moment of what all took place that day. But
Sure.
um, so I went back to class and I finished the day. It was summer school. We had practice a few hours after. So normally, what we would do is a group of friends and me would go to a local burger joint right down the street, have food, come back to campus, and wait it out for practice. And that's what we did that day. As we finished eating food and got back to campus, and we're sitting on campus and we're waiting, we started to notice this presence of police officers on campus. We saw
Oh my
one,
God.
then we saw like two come on together. Then we saw like another one and another one. And so our school is kind of in a rough it's in a rough town, rough part of the neighborhood, especially at this time. So to see police on our campus was not really something new, but the amount of police that we started to see
Oh my
it
gosh.
really drew attention. So much so that I actually got up, I walked over to one of the police officers because I was, I had no problem asking questions or talking to people. And so I walk up, hey, what's going on? Why are you guys up here? And he totally dismissed me as if like it was like kind of joke, like, oh, I didn't finish school. I mean, I got to go finish some school or something. He's some kind of joke. And I was like, all right,
Yeah.
whatever. So I went back and sat down with my friends. I told him dude didn't tell me anything. And I remember maybe about 10 minutes or so, one of my teammates' dad, who he always would show up for practices and the games, and was really into it. He came on campus, walked up to us where we were sitting at, and he pulled me over. He said, "Hey, I overheard some police outside saying that they were looking for a kid by the last name of Banks. And did I just want to make sure you didn't get into any trouble today." And I was like, "Nah, I didn't do
Uh,
anything." And he's like, "Okay, well, check in with your little brother and make sure it was not about him. Maybe it's another Banks, but I swear I heard them say, Banks." So I said, "Okay, I'll go check with my brother." My brother was on the other side of this gymnasium, which we were on in front of. So I had to walk around to where he was and asked him, what did he do? I pulled him out of practice and grilled him. What did you do?
you're like,
Who are
did
you
you do
with?
anything?
Yep. And he was like, I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I'm like, okay. And it's easy to get into some stuff at this time, in my neighborhood. It's
Yeah.
a lot of gang activity. It's a lot of, just a lot of craziness going on. It's
Oh
the
yeah.
hood.
Long
So
Beach. It's a
it's
tough
easy to
part of
get,
Long Beach.
it's easy to lose focus. It really is.
Yeah.
So he assured me he did nothing. I pushed him back to practice, and I kind of I just dismissed it. And I thought for a second like, what could this be about? And once he said he didn't do anything, I let the whole thing go. I started walking back to where my friends were, but as I was making my way there, I decided, I said, let me just go over here and just sit down. And where I decided to sit was literally, we have this driveway, which is kind of one driveway into our campus, and there's this
Okay.
main check-in gate where you would walk in. So I sat right at there's like these steps right at this gate, enter and exit. I'm literally at the gate, sitting there. And I sat down there, and I remember having this hoodie on with my hood on, and I'm my feet are on the first step, and I got my knees, and I'm sitting on the second step, and I'm just kind of sitting there and replaying in my head what the guy the guy just came in and told me about police.
Yeah.
And as soon as my brain started thinking about it, as soon as I sat down, probably within minutes, I hear footsteps to the left of me where the gate was, and I turn and kind of slightly look, and from what I see the girl, her older sister, her mother,
Oh my God.
and like three or four police officers leaving campus, and they walked right by me. Like it's not a huge gate, it's not, and they walked right by me. I don't know if the girl saw me, but I felt like when I looked, we kind of connected eye,
Oh my God.
but they just walked right by me. And then once they got into the parking lot, they made this left, and they started walking down to where the police cars were. And my heart started bumping. Like I'm now I'm like, okay, hold on, what's going on? And now I'm not beating because of what happened earlier today.
Yeah.
This girl is known as like this, bully on campus. She was having fights. She was getting kicked out of class a lot. Her mother's, a gang member, and
Oh, the girl. Got it.
yeah, in and
Yeah.
out of prison.
Oh
Her
my
family
gosh.
is very rough. She was a known problem on campus.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm going, oh shit, what did she do? That maybe they saw me walking around with her on campus. They think I had something to do with it too.
Oh
Maybe they're looking
man.
for me. So now my heart is just beating. I'm going, oh my God, what this girl do? And I stand up, and
And
as
you're
they
like a
make this
local,
left,
you're basically a celebrity. Like if you're, I mean, I think it should be in the context, in that school, I would assume that you are the closest thing they have to a celebrity. You're
well,
the
yeah,
football
yes,
star. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I had my own
Yeah.
mailbox on campus for recruiting mail that would fill up every single day. Me and about 10 other guys on campus. Poly is that kind of school, where
Yeah.
you just the most NFL players ever to come from one high school is our school.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
So it's a pretty pretty big powerhouse. So as they make this left and they walk off, my heart starts racing. My mind's fluttering. I stand up and I go to the right of the parking lot, which kind of bends around and it kind of goes out of view of where they were going. Once I get out of view, I'm jetting ass across the parking lot into the baseball field, and across the baseball field, I'm in my mind, I'm going, call my mom, call mom, call mom,
Sure.
call mom. So I'm running to the nearest place that I know I can find a phone, which was across the street from school
Hmm.
at another player's house. There's a group of players that they play video games before practice. They would go to his house for 2 hours, play games, come back. I knew there was a phone there, so I'm running to this phone. I bust in the door, all the guys in there playing games. They're like, what's going on? I tell them, I think the police are looking for me. And they all bust out laughing. They don't believe it. And I like, let me see your phone. I gotta use the phone. I get the phone. I call mom. My mom's like, what's going on? What happened? Why are they looking for you? And I'm like, I don't know. She's like, what'd you do today? I'm like, I didn't do anything. Now I didn't tell her like, I made out with some girl because I didn't
Yeah.
think, I wasn't thinking the police are coming for me because I made out with a girl.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know I didn't do anything today. She's like, okay, well, if you didn't do anything, calm down and don't worry about it. And she's like, if anything, just mispractice today, come home. And if they're looking for you, they'll come to the house looking for you and we'll deal with it. And I was like, all right. So I run, I tell my guys peace, which is crazy. That was the last day that I saw all my friends. But
Oh,
I said peace to my guys. I ran out the house. I jetted down a few blocks to the bus stop. There was a bus pulling up simultaneously, which was so crazy. I like jumped on a bus as the wheels were slowing down, and I went all the way home. I was pretty far from home at the time, and by the time I got home, I had completely let it go. My mind, I finally sat there on this bus ride home. I'm thinking about it. I'm going, what am I like? What am I doing? I missed practice. I'm
yeah.
over here tripping off something that's not even happening. Like I didn't do anything. Like what am I? So I'm walking home now after I get off the bus. I'm like, damn, I messed the day up here. And I get home, my mom's home, and she's asking again what happened. I'm like, nothing. Like I didn't do anything. So she's like, let it go. So I let it go. I go in my room. Take off the clothes. I jump in the shower. It was a summer day. I had a sweater on. I'm sweating, so I shower up, and I'm tired. And I'm just exhausted. I go back into the room. I lay down, and I fell asleep. I was in my boxers, and that was it. I just fell asleep. And I'm not sure how long it was or how long I was asleep. Um, but at some point, I felt like this pressure. I'm laying on my stomach, hands like this, and I feel like this pressure just pushed down into my back, middle of my back, and it's sinking me further and further into the bed. And first reaction, I joke, I try to like get up, and I hear somebody say, "Don't move, don't move, stay right there, put your hands behind your back."
Oh my God.
And so, I'm putting my hands behind my back and I'm listening, like, we're gonna stand you up. We're gonna stand you up. Put your foot here, do this. They pull me up, and there's like three police officers, I think, in my room. They're not pointing guns at me, but they got them out, you know.
Yeah.
And they start barking orders. What did you wear today? Where's your clothes? Where are the clothes you wore? Your clothes. I'm like,
Oh.
They're right there in the dirty clothes hamper. I kick it over, and all the clothes spill out, and they they pick they ask me which ones. I'm like, this one, this one, this one. I would point the clothes out. They put them in a bag. Side note, they would later say in the detective write up that I
Yeah.
tried to hide my clothes under other clothes in the dirty clothes hamper, even though I pointed out where the clothes were and which ones were the ones that I wore. I don't know why they're saying I'm trying to hide them, but they were in there, and once I kicked it over, a bunch of clothes came out, which they took it as me. I don't know. Crazy, man. So, anyways, they take the clothes, they start telling me, asking me what I want to wear. I'm pointing out stuff with my feet because I'm handcuffed. They put put the clothes on me, and they start pushing me out of my room. And as they push me out of my room, my mom's room is on the other side of the hallway from where my room is. It faces door to door. If
Yeah.
I'm standing at my door, I can look across. There's a bathroom, there's a linen closet, and then there's her room. And she's there with two officers, and they're trying to hold her back, and she just collapsed to the floor, and
Oh my
she's
God.
screaming just in a way I had never heard my mom scream before. It was just so eerie and sad and loud.
Yeah.
And they're shoving me, pushing me, and I'm going down the steps of the house and out of the house, and they take me out of the community where we were living in, and they walked me to the car. They put me in the car, and the car was off. It was summertime. It was like 100 something degrees.
Oh.
And I remember being shoved into this small back of this police car. I had never been in one before, and my hands behind my back. I was a big guy,
Yeah.
and they slammed the door and just left. And they went back inside. I remember sitting there.
They're like
And
collecting
that
evidence.
was yeah, that was when it all, that was the arrest. And then from there, to speed things up, just, I know it's such a long
Yeah.
story.
No, it's cool.
I sat for about 6 or more hours in the police precinct as they tried to get all the information. I was interviewed by a detective. I was told that they were going to figure it out. I probably would go right home. So I was very comfortable and just talked to them. When I'll tell everybody now, if you ever get arrested and they want to talk to you, do not talk to the police.
Don't talk to the police.
It's no
Don't
disrespect to
talk.
them. You're not disrespecting everybody. You're protecting your rights as an American citizen to not talking to you or being represented by a legal attorney who can give you and advise you on your best move forward. Do not talk to the police, no matter how nice they are to you. No matter how many times they tell you everything's gonna be okay if you just tell them what happened. Don't talk. Take your time. Sit, wait for your lawyer. Anyways, I tell them
Because you felt that there were things that you said trying to be polite and helpful and appear as you would as an innocent person. I'll give you all the information,
absolutely.
and some of it was used against you.
Absolutely. In my
Okay.
situation, as soon as you admit to being in the vicinity or the area where this crime supposedly happened, that's
Yeah.
enough to go to court and let the judge figure out the rest.
Okay.
So I was there. Yeah, I was in this hallway. Yeah, we kissed. All right, that's enough. Come on. To take it, this is go to jail. That's all it is,
Sure.
that's all it is from there. It's kind of like, my
Sure.
word against your word at this point, and we gotta take it to court to figure it out, versus having an attorney best advise you and legally, go about this a way that could answer some questions before assumptions are gathered.
Of course. Of
Um,
course.
so yeah, I was after about 6 or so hours, I was sent to a juvenile hall, and I kept being told that everything was going to be okay. No, they just got to do this. They just have to do this. This is just this and this and that, and it just continued and continued. I ended up staying in juvenile hall for 3 days before going to court. I went to court. They wanted to try me as an adult. They postponed the next court date for, I believe it was like it was like damn near 2 months. And I remember they gave me a bail of over $1 million. We didn't have any money to post it. My mom sold her
Yeah.
car. My mom sold her car, sold her house to pay for the attorney to represent us. And I had to sit in jail while we fought the case. I didn't have money to place bond.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Wait. So you
so
didn't take a public defender? You paid a lawyer?
yeah, yeah, this was it, it was that serious. They were trying to take my life away,
Yeah.
and
Of
to,
course.
not at least get someone invested in this financially, I don't think I would have had a chance. I mean, I didn't have a chance. We see now, even with the paid attorney, I didn't stand a chance. So
Well, let me ask you this because uh, but I should say there was a movie, an amazing movie that was made
mhm.
about you in this story. Greg Kinnear. What's the name of the guy that played you?
Aldous Hodge. Yeah.
He's in Jack Reacher. He's amazing. He's
Yes,
amazing.
man.
Great
Yeah.
actor.
Yes,
Cool
he is.
actor to have play you.
Yeah.
Um, and but in that movie, oh, also Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman
Morgan
was in.
Freeman. Yes, he
Yeah,
played my mentor, Mr. Johnson, Jerome Johnson.
yeah.
So it was awesome to have him on board. And then Sherry Shepard, who played my mom.
So all of those people that in the movie they portrayed your lawyer as really kind of seeming as if she just wanted to get it over with, to do a plea, to kind
Yeah,
of just to not take any chances, and almost was acting as if she didn't even feel that you were innocent or that it was even worth bothering.
you're absolutely right.
That was
Their portrayal was
spot on.
spot on and accurate. From day one, it was just how can I get him to take a deal? Even when I was in juvenile court, they wanted me to take what's called juvenile life, which is you go to a place called CYA, California Youth Authority, which is juvenile prison. In a lot of ways, worse than a real prison. And they wanted me to take a deal for juvenile life, which at the time I was 17. I would have stayed there till I was 25. I'm innocent. I'm not taking a deal. They would
Yeah,
bring these deals, and I would talk to my mom, and we would obviously come back and say no because he didn't do it, so we're not taking a deal.
and they would
So
give you like
yes.
10 minutes to decide the deal.
Well, the first few deals we had time to think. So, it was funny how it played out. The first few deals we would hear about them,
Yeah.
and my mom would come and visit me at the visiting center, and we'd have this whole discussion about stuff, and obviously we're not taking these deals, and then we'd go back and let my lawyer know about it. But when it came to the last deal, which is the deal that I was uh, pretty much coaxed into taking, that's
Right.
when I only had a small amount of time to make that decision. It was a forced decision.
Oh my gosh. Hey Ben, did you see that part? It's like
Yeah,
they it
yeah.
was literally like
I
10 minutes.
so there's so much here, and I'm so grateful for you sharing it and sharing it in such detail. And it's great. Like I knew the story while it was happening, and obviously have seen all about it since. When you revisit the story, what does it feel like when you revisit that day, sitting on those steps, walking across to talk to your brother? Like how how much pain is inside, and how do you navigate? Like, this show is about painful lessons, and most of those painful lessons relate to mistakes we've made and the pain we've felt because of the mistakes we've made. And I feel like that shows up in regret. And in this circumstance, I would almost imagine that that pain shows up in the form of anger or resentment. Um,
Rage, yeah.
and so, how have you dealt with that to move forward with kind of the grace that you move forward? So I don't want to jump ahead of the story, but that's what's I'm so impressed and I'm so grateful, but I'm excited to just learn from whatever inner strength that you've constructed is quite incredible. So I'm curious.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So in the beginning, I mean, of course, those feelings that you're having are rage and fear and all the negative emotions you can think of. But I think what really pulls at you the most when you're going to and from court and you're in limbo, right? And you're not really knowing what's going to happen to you. What really pulls at you the most is the feeling of hope. The feeling of hope. The feeling of hope that you think today is going to be the day that they're going to figure it out. Today will be the day that I'm going to go home. When I go to court today, I hope this is the day that someone's going to say this is bullshit, and that hope every time being shattered. It's this groundhog day effect of waking up every single day in limbo in a prison cell, living the same thing out every single day at the same time. When they feed you, when you go to the bathroom, when they let you off a yard, when you get a chance to talk to somebody else, when you read a book, when you sleep, when you wake up, and repeat and repeat and repeat. And then there's this hope that at some point today, this cell door, I hope it just opens up and someone comes in here and lets me out. And you go to sleep that night knowing that that didn't happen, and it plays over and over and over again. And you don't know if you. And I'm facing 41 years to life in prison at now 17 years old. I'm in adult court. They tried me as an adult. This case is too severe for a juvenile court. We have to try him in adult court. So now I'm facing 41 years to life. So to answer your question, like, what is that feeling of talking about the past, being on campus and talking to my brother for that last time, and seeing my homeboys playing video games for that last time. And, you know, it's those are memories that I think that, when I talk and share my story on podcasts or on stage when I'm doing speaking engagements, those are the some of the few memories that I can hang on to that I still remember. It's unfortunately, I don't remember much about high school except for what happened that shouldn't have happened. I see people I don't even remember. They're like, "Brian, what's up?" I'm like, everything from that day on kind of just, I don't really remember too much of it because I think that what happened, it just kind of started my life over. Like that day of arrest was like a new life for me, and everything before that just disappeared. Yeah, I hang on to those last days, man. It was a very terrifying moment and a very terrifying time, but also those last moments of freedom. You
Well,
know,
and when you are, I've been to jail for like a night here or there,
yeah,
and it only takes. Ben, have you ever been to jail?
yeah,
Hey Ben, have
yeah.
you ever been to jail? No.
It
Okay.
don't take long, huh,
So
Ramsey?
the second you go to jail, there it takes 15 minutes
I swear
where
to
all of a sudden
God.
you freak out, you
Oh
realize you
man.
can't get out, and then also if you can tap on the door, hey guards, you're treated like a non-person.
I'm
It
telling
is the quickest transition from I'm free, I'm a normal person, I'm free, to all of a sudden something. It's so overwhelming, and it only
you. Yes.
happens within a few minutes that you are just like caged and
Yeah.
and nothing. I know, like Brian, I imagine you probably walked around telling your story and everyone just rolled their eyes.
Well, that's funny. In jail, everybody's innocent.
Yeah,
So
gosh.
who you sharing your story to? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, me too. Get in line. I didn't do it either.
Yeah.
You don't even talk about your case when you're in jail.
Oh my gosh.
Especially a case like mine. And what I was dealing with, I would be crazy to open my mouth up and share it with anybody. So even if I did want to vent or just have somebody to speak to get some things off my chest, that wasn't I
Nobody
literally,
cares.
yeah, you learn how to deal with things internally. You really did. You either deal with them or they deal with you. I mean,
But
it's gonna be one or the other.
so you
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
like just even your posture as you share the story and your posture as you speak about it, like there's a level of kind of grace and elevation that's quite impressive. Um, did you build that? Like, did you take hey, I have to navigate injustice in a way few will
Hmm.
ever experience. And
Yeah,
can you talk about navigating injustice and building whatever superpower you've arrived at to be able to go forward to go forward?
yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, I've shared this story before, but it was a turning point in my life that I think is so profound and important for people to hear. About 14 days into my incarceration, I had lost just as much weight, about 14 pounds, 14, 15 pounds. I wasn't eating the food. I wasn't coming out of my cell. I wasn't talking to anybody at the prison or at the jail at the time. I was Once they had, I did the 3 days in court, and after the 3 days in court, they postponed my court date for like 2 months. It broke me. Like when I talk about being broken, I was completely broken.
60 more days in jail.
I shut down. My whole being shut down. I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything. And um, so two things in my life happened that really changed the course of my perception of my life and what's taking place in my life. One was mentorship. The first thing that happened was after those 14 days, the juvenile hall didn't know what to do. And, I'm this big old giant kid that won't come out the cell and eat. One day, my cell door opened up, and this guy walks into my cell. He wasn't a jail guard. He was just this regular guy. He kind of had a suit on with a tie and these glasses and these, thin frame glasses. He walks in and he surveys my cell and he's looking around, not saying a word. He looks down at me and he's just got this energy about him. There was something that just commanded this attention that made me sit up. And he came inside, he walked in, he sat right next to me and he looked me in my eyes and he said, "I don't know what you're going through, young man, but you're going to have to let it go." And those simple words, it didn't detail anything. It was so vague, but it was so impactful for me at the time, hearing someone finally say something to me about how I was feeling and what I was dealing with internally. But at the same time, it was very confusing. How could I let go of something that I was currently in the midst? I am in the eye of the storm.
Yeah, you're at the
How could I
beginning of it.
let go of how could I let go of something so big? And he essentially said, this is where we begin. That's where we start. He was a teacher at the juvenile hall. He was a part of the educational system. You can still go to school and get your high school diploma while you're incarcerated. I cannot tell you what subject this man taught. I don't know if it was math, science, or history, because when we went into his classroom, the only thing that we focused on was the journey towards enlightenment, um,
Wow.
discovering the real you, stepping outside the box, which is the societal norm, which is what we've been programmed to think is what's real, or what matters. But to challenge yourself and to discover yourself. And it was conversations, it was things that were brought up and books that were read and literature and audio and different things that were played that I never heard before, that really opened my mind to how I thought about me and how I was dealing with what was going on in my life.
It's interesting that he said, "Let it go. You've got to let it go." That is, I'm in recovery. Ben and I talk about recovery all the time. Like AA style recovery. Um, I don't. Are you sober? Are you in recovery, Brian? Okay, okay. It's interesting that the big impactful message that he was sending you is the same thing that it's like step one, you have to surrender. Um, and I feel like we always look for a through line. Ben was just talking to me earlier. We always look for a through line, and surrender to everything is the very first thing that you have to do in order to just to be a successful person. I think it's like, and it sounds
Absolutely.
so counterintuitive.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's, and I say this all the time. It's not what we're going through in our lives, but how we allow what we're going through to affect us. You know,
It's our whole deal in AA. Jeez.
no experience comes with emotions. We apply the emotion to our experiences. What we go through, we
Explain
choose
that.
how we.
Explain that.
Well,
Explain that.
what we go through. So, for example, if I throw a cup of coffee on your lap, I didn't throw the emotion of anger with it. I just threw coffee. How you choose to respond to what just happened is totally up to you. If you fight fire with fire and choose anger and hostility, or if you find some positive way to deal with the situation, or just completely remove yourself from that situation altogether, because no one or no situation truly deserves that much power over your life. And we often give so much power to these experiences, that don't deserve the power that we give it. Uh, so when I say that, it's not what we go through, but how we deal with it. When I say that it's not, the emotions don't come with experiences, it's true. We may not be able to control what we're dealing with, but how we feel about what we're dealing with, how we respond to what we're dealing with, therein lies self mastery,
Yeah.
resilience, and adversity, and all those other words that people that we really need to be saying more in today's day and age.
That was so profound. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay. Um, there's a question that I'm really interested in that revolves around people's sense of what success is. And it's interesting with your story. It's like, all right, you're a star linebacker at Long Beach Poly who's heading to USC. It's like the Willie McGinnis path. Like I'm from Massachusetts,
Hmm.
so like I know that person and what a successful path that is. And I would imagine there's a moment of like, wait, this path that I've worked really hard to navigate has now been taken from me in like
Hmm.
the craziest way, in the cruelest way. And then just listening to you now, I'm like, wow, like from that conversation with that fellow who came into your cell and to say, hey, this idea of transcending and leaving the box and kind of arriving at your own concept of success, which frankly is more elevated than like anything I could hope for. Like how do you feel about your success in this regard and the pride you have related to that?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Let me share. I'll answer that. Let me give you the second part to the transformation. The second part was when I was sentenced to prison. So I shared the part of when I was first incarcerated, and I met my mentor, and we
Who was
began this
played by
journey.
Morgan Freeman. I just
Who
think
was
it's
played
really
by
cool
Morgan
that
Freeman.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he loves that. He loves it. But the second part was once I was sentenced. After all of that hope and prayer and all those different things that people tell you to do to make things get better in your life, and when all that failed, and I was sentenced to a 6-year sentence for something I didn't do, I was again broken and
Oh,
I was right back into that phase of that life part of my life where I was just done with trying. Like I just don't know what else to do. And I started living the life of an inmate. I started getting into shit. I started getting tattoos. I start,
oh,
I'm doing all kind of stuff, getting into fights and riots and
stuff.
everything. I'm involved. And I woke up one day and I'm in my cell, and the light was shining really bright through the little small slit that they call a window. And for some reason that day, it caught me, and it just drew my attention. I got off my bunk. I took the 2 steps over to this window, and I'm looking out this window, and the sun is just hitting on me. And something, there was a voice in me that said, "You are not in control over the things that are taking place in your life. Focus on what you can control." This entire time, you are trying to be in control over things that you have no power over. But what do you control? What can you control? And how willing are you to remain consistent and disciplined in controlling those things and focusing only on those things?
Right.
And I made it a mission to myself when I heard this voice. I just kind of, I, you know, the the old saying, "Be still and listen." It's in the Bible. It's stretched across all different religions. It's to finally be still and listen to that voice that we so often ignore. The one that tells you to put that nasty food down, or that tells you you should go to bed earlier, or that tells you you should control your anger, or that tells you stop drinking that or stop smoking that, or that voice that we so often ignore and say maybe tomorrow or maybe the next day. I finally chose to be still and listen to that voice. And it really was the best thing that I ever did, because that voice is our higher power, that is within us. And we have to, through life, from the moment of birth, we are disconnected from that source of understanding and knowing and assuredness of the powers and abilities that we've been given prior to coming onto this earth. through so many earthly distractions, we become so disconnected from that source. And it's up to us, just as much as we take arts as serious. Ramsey, you love your art just as much
Yeah.
as you take art serious, just as much as you take family serious, just as much as you take your career serious. You have to take your wellness, your life, your overall. The Latin word is eudaimonia for life wellness. You have to take that just as serious. How you're dealing with situations, how you're allowing situations to affect you. What are your steps? Are you making your best moves forward? And are you mastering the power of of choice, how you're choosing to feel and how all these different things you're choosing, are you mastering that on a day-to-day basis? That is how, going back to your initial question, is of how I dealt with this and what got me to here today was finally
Sure.
being still and listen, staying committed to the plan, and remaining disciplined to what I knew to be true. And that helped me really get through the hardest times in my life, was focusing on what I could control and how I dealt with myself while in those processes.
Spectacular. My producer has a question.
Yeah,
He
I'm
wants
just
to
gonna come
throw
in
in.
real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian. I'm Jerry. Nice to meet you, man. Really
You
compelling
too.
story, and your grace is it's untold. Like, it's astounding that you are the person you are because of all this. I used to work for Vice really quickly, and we did a lot of conflict zone stuff. But I spent 7 days in lockdown at Salinas County, which is
Oh yeah.
one of the
Yes.
most violent prisons in the United
Yes,
States.
sir.
What I learned is, even if you're innocent, and the general public doesn't know this, that our prison system creates criminals even from innocent people. You
Mhm.
go in and you have to align with a gang. The whites have the Aryan Nation, the Crips and the Bloods, the Mexican Nationals, the
Right.
different Mexican cartel gangs. And they make the new guys do things, assault other guys to
Hmm.
be covered by the gang. So I would just love you to speak about that really quickly,
Yeah.
how the prison system is just compounding the problem and
Yeah.
making more criminals out of innocent men who are only trying to save their own lives so they
Yeah.
don't get murdered by the prison gangs.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, man, that's a good question. Not too many people really ask about, the life of prison, like how it is in there. But you're absolutely right. When you get locked up in California, and you go to prison and you get to one of those higher level institutions of a level 3 or a level 4 yard where you have a higher percentage of lifers that are serving life in those prisons, or that means that you have a lot of guys that are not serving life, but they're serving a whole lot of time. 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, or less. And with that, those are guys who, were once on the streets that has brought that over here into the prisons. And the prison is probably one of the most racist, gang infested experiences that I have had in my entire life. I've never been in an environment or institution or program that was so divided, and so against one another, uh, that for sure that the prison system is definitely stoking the fires of hatred and racism by the way it is allowed to operate. And you hit the nail on the head. If you are not a part of a gang, you will be in some way associated with that gang. They call them CARs, CAR. And if you're from a certain city, you don't gang bang. The first next thing they're gonna ask you, well, where are you from? Well, I'm from this city. Okay, well then that means you're gonna be in this car with these people, and go see if they will accept you. You got the Crips, the Bloods, and then you have different religious sects for blacks. You have the Norteños and the Sureños for the Hispanics. One is Northern California, the other one is Southern California. They completely hate each other. They cannot be on the same yard or in the same cell or even in the same vicinity of each other, or they will try to kill each other. If they don't kill each other, then their own homies will kill them for not trying to kill each other. So they cannot even be associated or in the same institution. Then you have your whites, which are Aryans, Nazis, or your skins. Skins are basically, I'm not a part, I mean, excuse me, you got your skins and you got your woods. The woods are basically, I'm not part of any white racist institution. but I am white, so I'm a wood, which is short for peckerwood. And I run with them, and I'm basically at their service. If a Nazi or an Aryan or a skin wanted me to do something, I would have to do it because I have no other choice. There's no one going to back up and stop that. And then you
Nobody's
have
gonna
your
say no to them.
nobody's going to say no. And
If I
then you
went
have
in
your
there and go,
others.
guys, I've heard some racist comments. I don't think I'm going to be part of this group. What
I'm not going to be a part of this. Yeah,
I don't
you.
like you. The two of you have made some racist comments. I don't approve of those at all. And you
Yeah,
don't seem like the type of people I want to hang with. So I'm going to be
yeah.
over here. Maybe I'll start my own car.
Yeah, and I tell you what, they'll go talk to the guard, a few guards who are in line with them, and let them know what they're about to do to you, and they'll get it done. And then they'll make it look
Uh,
like you started something or it was your fault. You'll get rolled up after you get out the hospital. Rolled up means move somewhere else. And then they'll just keep happening to you because now you've created a paper trail of a bad rap, you know.
okay. Or I
But then
go in.
you have your others, which are the Asians, Samoans, and they kind of push whichever way that they want to lean. You have some Puerto Ricans who choose to, be with Hispanics, and some Puerto Ricans that would prefer to be with blacks. And it's just this big, you know, segregated gymnasium of just craziness where
Yeah.
don't walk this way, don't use this, don't touch that, don't eat here, don't give him this, don't talk to him, don't play with each other, don't look at each other, don't go over here on Monday, don't touch this on Tuesday. Shower, brush your teeth to the left,
Uh,
walk to the right. It's just this crazy thing that you learn, and then it becomes a part of you. If you're there for so many years, you
sure.
start finding things that you don't like about people because you've been told to not like somebody.
Yeah.
And so now you're judging. Oh God, I hate when they do this, or I hate when they do that. Oh, here they go again. You're using this terminology. It's now a part of you, and it was something that I completely hated. I grew up. My stepmother is Hispanic. She doesn't speak English. She's from Michoacan. She is amazing. She's been in my life damn near 30 years. I have two sisters who are half Hispanic, half black. My son is half black, half Hispanic. His mother, my future wife, is a Hispanic woman. Like, I don't play that. I've never done that. It was never
Right.
part of me. So to be around that was so crazy to see. But it's definitely segregated. It's definitely racist. You definitely gonna pick a side. You're gonna have to roll with somebody. You can't roll by yourself. And if you're in there for that long a time, you gonna fight. You're gonna fight somebody. Somebody gonna fight you. Somebody gonna
I
test you.
I'm looking at Ben, who's had a few years of jujitsu, and he has told me before. He's like, dude, if honestly, I hear people saying that they can't. I would. He's like, I would be fine. But okay, so Brian, you're a huge guy.
Yeah.
It's really under no circumstances can a single person be fine. Correct?
Uh, yeah, yeah. Do you know jujitsu in your sleep? You know jujitsu in the shower when you're naked. Do you know jujitsu when a guard handcuffs you to a wall and let
Ah,
the people in that wants to hurt you? When they put you in a cell on purpose to have certain people come in and do things to you. Boxing, jujitsu, it's only gonna carry unless you really in there on some Chuck Norris, you know, taking down 15, 20 guys and walking out, then no. I mean, I even somebody like me, I'm 6'4". I'm 6'3", 6'4". I at some point got to about 240, 245
wow.
in there. I lift yes every day in there. I worked out every day. I stayed in shape, and I'm not crazy. You can get 10, 15 guys on your head in no time.
Yeah. Oh wait, and the entire time you're still training. You're always training because you wanted your dream was still to
You know,
play pro football.
I wouldn't say always. At a
Okay.
point, the idea did come up, but it wasn't pro. It was a process to it. There was a one point in my life where when I was incarcerated, I completely let go of sports. I stopped
Okay.
watching sports. I stopped thinking about sports. I let
Oh
go of the
man.
whole idea of everything because I had to focus on 6 years of prison. And I couldn't watch NCAA. I couldn't watch the NFL Monday Night Football without thinking, that could be me. I'm watching my homeboys at Oregon University and USC and UCLA.
Ah,
Fran and
brutal.
Reggie Bush and all these dudes. It was hard to watch from a prison cell on
Reggie
a
Bush.
small.
That was your class, right?
All this, yeah, Matt Lyon and Reggie Bush. I was supposed to be with all those guys.
Oh
That
my
was
gosh.
my time to be there.
What
You
year
know,
in your
um,
sentence was the experience where you walked up to the window and were like, "Hey, I'm going to listen to this voice of like my higher self"?
yeah, I wouldn't say that was probably a year or so after I had been sentenced. So I was locked up for a year fighting the case, and then after I got sentenced, I think about a year later is when I finally decided, like, I had this epiphany, and I was gonna change me for me. No one will work harder for you than you. And I just had to continue to remind myself that. But yeah, I think that's when it happened. And then once that happened, I just opened myself up to just learning and knowledge. I started reading profusely. I got into the dictionary and the thesaurus and read them multiple times, start writing out each word and the definitions. And then I started getting into like the thesaurus and how to pronounce words and how to say them correctly. And then I would go out into the prison yard and talk to my guys, and I would use these big ass words, and they would think that I was crazy, but I'm just kind of like, I grew this obsession with knowledge and
Yeah.
want to understand things. I got into psychology and sociology and spiritual enlightenment teachings. I got into Afrocentricity and Afrocentric thoughts and mindset. And I started getting into history and science and just all. I just started pulling as many books as I could get and reading. You have nothing but just time.
What's your higher power? Like, were you also into, what's your spirituality?
Oh yeah. I was born and raised Christian.
Okay.
I still very much believe in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I
Jesus.
um, I do think that the religious journey. I'm a firm believer in the religious journey being a personal journey. I
Sure.
think there is no greater connection. The closest you will ever come to your higher power is by first looking within yourself. You are a direct representation of your creator. You need not look no further but within to find that connection. You don't need to climb on top of a mountain. You don't
Yeah.
need to go scuba diving with the whales. You
Yeah.
don't need to sit in a congregation of 1 million people. It's right here. You're running around looking for the savior or peace or forgiveness, and can I let go, or can I do this, or I need to feel better. It's right here.
Yeah.
It's right here. It's right here. We run from this so much. We run from this so much, and we look for other things to do it for us. Oh, I hit the gym. The gym does help. Don't get me wrong, but it's right here. It took you going to the gym. It took you committing to going to the gym. The gym didn't come to you.
Sure. You, we have to hit on the fact that at one point and by the way, um, I'm loving this interview. I don't want to wrap up anytime soon, but Ben, I know that you have a window. So when you have to,
We can
whatever,
part to it. We can part to it for
I
sure.
mean, I
I
want to
love to
part
come
two this
back and we
so
can talk
bad.
more.
I want to part two this. I mean, I keep going if I drop, but I can't. A question I have is, what practice did you develop post that day at the window to stay in relationship with that inner higher power, that voice, given all the other voices and noises that are out there? And
Yeah.
how's that relationship today? And then I've got a last question, and I'll disappear.
Okay. um, y- you know what? I think the hardest thing to accomplish in our human life is discipline. Straight up. It is hard to remain disciplined in something without being distracted, without taking time off away from it,
fascinating.
without completely giving it up. The hardest thing in life for us to accomplish is discipline, nothing else. And for me, I think that it wasn't until I was taken away from everything um, that I truly understood what I had or what I could have. And I'm not saying that that's the answer for everybody. I don't think everybody should be stripped away of everything to really
Sure.
understand the values of life. But if that time, that really crazy thing, that really unfortunate thing that happened to you in your life, that you feel really changed you as a person, there was a point in that experience when you told yourself, I want to do something different. I'm going to change this about me. or I'm next time in this situation, I'll be prepared because of this. And you told yourself you were going to start doing something as a result of that. And somewhere down the line, your discipline fell apart and it never happened. And so you found yourself in that same feeling again. You found yourself in those same emotions again. You found yourself feeling the same fucking way again because you never hung on to that discipline the first time when you told yourself, I'm going to change this for me.
Sure.
And so I think that what I really took on to for me was picking something and sticking to it. You know, I want to be better than what they said, what they're saying that I am. I want to be better than the accusation. I want to be better than where I am. I am not an inmate. I'm not an inmate. I don't belong here. I'm not a prisoner. I don't belong. I'm not a rapist. I didn't commit a crime. I'm not a criminal. I'm none of these things. And I'm going to show that by committing to something that makes me, that will distance me so far away from that, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and to a point where I won't care what people think because their opinions don't really matter at the end of the day. So
Sure.
I would say if there was anything that you should first apply into your life, would be discipline, discipline, consistency. Because, but that's part of discipline too.
Strong.
With discipline comes consistency.
Ben, what was the other?
Well, I really want there to be a chapter two because this is like so much wisdom
I'm down,
and
man.
power. Like,
Ramsey's my guy, man. You
Yeah.
got me, brother. Whenever you need me to
dude,
jump on, I'm here.
I'm so excited, and vice versa. Like at your back to support whatever path you're on. Um, the if God's rolling dice and it says, all right, path A is the path that you walked us through at the beginning of this, and path B is the path that you were previously on. I'm going to go to USC. Hopefully, everything's successful there. Let's say it is the Willie McGinnis story. You go to the Patriots, whatever. Everything goes down that path. You know,
Hmm.
and you look at these two paths. You look at where you're sitting now. Do you say like, how do you like? Is it fuck yeah? Like, no, fuck yeah is not the right language. Is it like I'm? It's hard for me to imagine a more successful person that I could be talking to than someone who has this internal mastery. But I'm curious how you view yourself now with the lessons that you've acquired.
Hmm. I think I'm just like anybody else, man. I'm still on the path towards understanding, of life, of myself. I think the difference in some people, some people are consciously on their journey. They're actively on that journey. And then there's other people that are just kind of going through life, allowing life to just kind of happen as it comes. For me, I've made it an effort to be actively involved in the progression of my life. I want to try to mitigate it. I want to try to nurture it. I want to try to care for it. I want to try to make sure I'm putting myself in the best positions for things. And I still think about, the things that were lost and the opportunities that I could have had playing in the NFL. Um, we call those stress factors. Those are factors of your life that they stress you because you got all these why questions and how questions and why not questions.
Sure.
But I think that, another term for those can be, if we take a step further, those could be the demons of your life. These are the things that are pulling you down from keeping you from propelling forward. And for me, I I have chosen, and the way I've gone about things is to just appreciate me for where I am today and what I'm trying to accomplish today. And to not allow one moment in time to dictate the duration of my life. I refuse to allow what I went through to be the end all or the say all of the rest of this life. Um, because again, nothing really deserves that much power over your life. So I try not to sit with the demons. I try not to let the demons overcome me. And so I guess the best way to put it is sometimes we'll never be able to shake those demons, but we
Yeah.
can manage those demons. when I think about you, it's just as thoughts come into my mind, I can allow them to exit. You know what I mean? Just as something it enters my heart that is unsettling, I'm gonna stop it right there and say not today, and I'm gonna commit to that.
Sure.
There was a practice I would do, and I also do it with some of my clients in life coaching. I would tell them, before you step out of bed, I want you to visualize and just think about how many times you think you'll be upset, unhappy, or disappointed. Oh man, more than necessity. Maybe let's just say 5 times. Okay, cool. So before you step out of bed, acknowledge that there may be 5 times today that you may find yourself in a negative situation. I want you to make it your mission that when those 5 things happen, you immediately stop and you force yourself to respond in a positive way. So you're going through life, and here's the point. Here's the first one. God, okay, hold on. That's one. I told myself today that I was going to do this. Okay, positive response. There's one, and there's two, and there's three, there's four. Now, with discipline comes consistency. You're now training your mind mentally how to deal with negative situations,
Mm-hmm.
how to mitigate the demons from taking you off of your path. And after this practice, like with art, you begin to master this because you put in the time and the effort and the consistency. You have to work with your mind and not just let your mind be just out in the elements, taking it as it comes.
Sure.
I'm crazy grateful.
Brian, there are three things we have to cover. One is the incredible moment where you were approached by your accuser and who then said, "I'm sorry, I made all of this up, and I know that it's hurt your," and at least the movie's portrayal of that was that she almost seemed like shocked that it had destroyed your life. But that was the biggest gift that you could have been given. I mean, can that seems like the craziest thing I've ever heard of, that would even happen. Were you just floored when you were approached?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's still mind-boggling today. I think one of the oddest experiences that I ever had was being on parole. After I got out of prison, after the 6-year sentence, I was given an additional 5 years of strict custody parole,
Yeah.
where I had to wear a GPS tracking device on my ankle and be subjected to all sex offense registration requirements for five
Hell.
years.
Hell. Still in hell.
It was a new form of institutionalization, and in a lot of ways worse than prison. To be in back into society and to literally be labeled a sex offender and to wear a GPS on your ankle and to be on those Megan lists and all these different websites where people can look you up in your neighborhood, and not being able to live within 2,000 feet of any school or park, not being able to go on any school campus. And so on Halloween's and on parole, I had to shut all the lights off in my house, not open the door, not acknowledge anyone who knocked on the door. Weird stuff, but like to be subjected to all of that for an additional 5 years, and within that 5 year period, 4 years in, I'm sitting there looking for a job. I'm online typing, searching, looking, and no one wants to hire a sex offender currently on parole with no college education. So it's not happening. Borderline homeless many times, but here I am looking for a job. I get bored and tired, and so I decide to get on Facebook. I get on Facebook and I notice I had a friend request. I click the box, it drops down, and it's the girl who had accused me of raping her. Um, now requesting to be my friend on Facebook. And yeah, I remember as quick as I read it, I slammed the laptop down. I don't even think there was any time between the two of reading the name and slamming the laptop down. It was that fast. I couldn't believe what I saw. And I remember kind of flinging it across the room as if it was something I shouldn't have in my hand. It was just like, what? Whoa, what is this? Like, what do I have? Like,
Crazy.
and I remember just kind of being fixated, staring out this window. And I am at a window again. I'm looking out the window. I'm in this bedroom at the apartment that I was living in. Just looking out the window, and like my whole life flashed before my eyes. Everything that I had gone through, everything that I had experienced, prison, parole, is flashing, and it's this person. And then once I kind of snapped out of that, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think this is really this person. There's no way she would friend request me. So I sent a message saying, why would you friend request me, just to see what would come back. And immediately a message came back saying, I was hoping we can let bygones be bygones. I was immature back in the day, but I could assure you I'm much more mature now. It'll be good to see you.
So wild.
Man, and I just I remember still like this, there's no way that this is this person. This has to be some fake, like someone's creating this account and it's fake, and it's just not real. So I sent a message back and I said, would you call me? And within minutes my phone rang, and it was her. And we sat there in silence for a bit. I'm like I'm trying to listen to the background. I'm trying to, my prison mode is on. Like, I'm in full paranoia mode.
Sure.
I'm like in it now. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And she starts flirting on the phone, talking about how good my Facebook pictures look and how much I've grown and how cute I am. And asking me, what do I think about how she looks, and have I looked at her pictures? And if I ever wanted to hang out and hook up sometime, it would be fun and to chill. Uh, and so I'm in my head, I'm just like, don't say anything dumb, because like, immediately I'm like an opportunist. I'm like, as soon as I'm on the phone, I'm realizing it's her. How can I flip this? Like, I need to get her to tell the truth. I need to get her to come
Sure.
forward. Like, how can I use this to my benefit? So I'm like, kind of pushing it along, like, oh, maybe we could think about that as something. But like I'm like pulling it back to, like, I went through a lot, I lost a lot, and I need help trying to get my life back. And she's like, well, if we hang out, maybe we could talk about that stuff. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay. Now let me get back to you on that. So I get off the phone, and then for the next like week or so, I am bombarded with text messages from her about hanging out and other stuff.
God, this is so. Wait, she was trying to hook up, basically.
Yeah, she was trying to have sex. It was
Good
weird.
Lord. That's, I mean, I can't even imagine. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, yeah. And so after about a week or so of me kind of dodging it and not really engaging, she sent this message saying, well, if you don't want to hang out, maybe I change my mind about helping you. And that's when I was like, oh shit, I got to do something. And so I reached out to a friend of mine at the time whose dad had just became a PI, and he put me in touch with his dad, who was like, okay, have her come to the PI office. Just say that's the job where you work. See if she'll show up. Everything is recorded there, and we'll see what happens. And she showed up 2 days in a row. And the first day she showed up, it was just me and her talking. PI was in the other room, his wife. And
Ah,
I just wanted her to understand what I had gone through. And it was just kind of like this tit for tat. Like, well, I really, I lost 5 years of my life. Oh, well, I had a whole, I had issues too. I sued the school district for lack of security. And, they were awarded $1.5 million
oh
for a
gosh.
lack of security on campus. They settled with the court, with the school district. They didn't even take them to court.
Oh my word. Oh
And so
wait,
she,
and then didn't the school, after you were exonerated, the school went back and sued them?
yes, so countersued her, and they won 2.5 or something like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I would say, like, I lost a lot of time, and prison was really hard for me. And she said, oh well, people were hating on me because I had all this money and they were trying to get money from me, so it was hard for me too.
Talk about different problems.
Now and then I'll say something else like, well, this happened to me, and I was subject to this and that. Oh well, the courts were trying to make me go to therapy and all this stuff, and
What?
I didn't have time for that, and they were bothering me. And okay. And so then it was just like pointless, and nothing was happening that day. And then she came back the second day, and she had agreed to talk to the PI, and the PI then came in and asked her the direct questions.
Okay.
Did he rape you? Did he kidnap you? And she's laughing. No, of course not. I wouldn't even be here if he did that. I was. You know, we were just being young and curious and having fun and blah 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 and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. And it was just, other people got involved, and then they just became something bigger and blah blah blah. And it's crazy. The videos on YouTube, you can actually watch it for those who want to. You can just find it. Yeah, it's
We gotta cut that in.
Yeah, I will. I will. And they never even could have at any point. Your lawyer could have maybe got. I mean, she probably would have folded if you would gonna if it would have gone to trial. I'm sure she would have. You would have won. You probably would have won
if
the.
I had the right representation and a proper lawyer who actually went to the supposed crime scene, who actually interviewed the people that we said that they should interview, who actually used the DNA evidence in court. My
Yeah.
lawyer never used the DNA evidence, never used this girl, and not to get too graphic, she said that I penetrated her, that I left my fluids inside of her, that she saw the contents. She described how it felt. So it was present. They did a DNA test, a rape kit on her within an hour or so of this incident taking place. There was no DNA found of me, but there was another male source of DNA
Other
found
people.
on her underwear.
This sounds crazier
Um,
than the Duke lacrosse story. Another situation where they were accused, wrongfully accused.
yeah, I'm familiar.
Why did the
Um,
why did the and then the police? Did they just was it laziness or did they just want you to go down? Did they just want a big fish?
I it's a good question because she had her story was so inconsistent from the jump, and they never took the time to thoroughly question her,
Wild.
investigate her, or her, what she's saying. If it actually, like, she said, she was kicking and screaming and fighting down the hallway, pulling me while holding the bathroom pass that she had in her hand was about maybe 12 inches. It was a cone shape, see-through cone that literally you either had to hold with two hands or like this under your arm. It was this big thing that she was carrying around. But she's saying that I had her by one arm while she was swinging and punching with the other arm, but somehow that pass made it down the hallway,
Yeah,
down the
yeah, yeah.
stairs during the makeout session, back to class and back to the teacher. And no one heard her screaming, fighting, kicking, but it's been proven there's classrooms that were open, the doors open, teachers assistants, students. The classes in
So
our schools
wild.
had the classes in our school had up to 30 people per class. The desk would go all the way to the damn door. Like, no one heard or saw anything, never screamed help, nothing. It None of it made sense. None of it made sense. The
What an
DNA was
outrage.
negative. None of they didn't the DA could have had the moral or ethical obligation to say, with the inconsistencies in this story, plus the DNA proving that what you said happened didn't happen, and we found actually somebody else.
Oh my word.
Man,
Like right now you are a coach, right?
yes.
You're a
Mhm.
life coach.
Yep.
How would someone even get a hold of you? Like how would what's your is it a website?
Yeah. So you can find me. All my social media handles are Brian Banks Free, Brian with an I. And then my website is brianbanksfree.com. You
Okay.
go there, you will find right on the front page that there is a button to click on for resilience coaching. I help professionals, businesses, and high achievers uh, basically build resilience, overcome adversity, and find ways to navigate through their day in and day out obstacles while trying to obtain the things in life that they want to obtain, simultaneously not losing the things that they've already gained. So it's been awesome, and I've worked with, I mean, everybody from other exonerees that have made it home from wrongful convictions to rookies within the NFL, some of our veteran guys in the NFL, to our corporate individuals working on, working day in and day out in office settings, to just our everyday, high achiever that's looking to build themselves up, get past things that have been holding them back, and find new tools and new practices to enhance their resilience with all the craziness that's going on in this world.
And you speak. I would imagine that this is a big important part of your income. You go and you speak to groups or crowds or motivating talks.
Yes, yep. I share my story, and within sharing my story, there are nuggets of wisdom and tools that you can take with you and apply into your everyday life as well. But yes, sharing my story, making people aware of wrongful convictions, sharing the experience of going from where I went through to making it to the NFL to having a movie come out about my life. Very, very engaging talks. I love being on stage talking. I love sharing my story, and I love educating people on ways to better their own lives. And it's from coming from firsthand experience. I lived it. I experienced it.
Sure.
I went through some of, I would say some of the hardest experiences of American society, man, being wrongfully accused of a sex crime and being sent to prison because of it at the age of 16, what that can do to a
Well,
person.
have you ever met anyone that they feel like they've been wronged in, let's say, a divorce, and they cannot get rid of the pain or the resentment that they have? And I would imagine that you can look at someone like that
Absolutely.
and say, I have the tools where your life could be exponentially better than it is if you will allow me to help communicate some of these tools to you.
Absolutely. I mean, especially in marriage. I mean, think about it. It's totally understandable for someone to have those types of feelings after investing so much time, so much effort, so much love, so much openness, and so much vulnerability to another person. And to see everything that you built together finally to come crashing down. That's a tough pill to swallow. That's something that you don't get over overnight or over the next few days, especially if you've been with that person for a number of years. So finding ways to vent first and foremost, to have someone in your corner that's here for you to listen to you, but also not just to talk, but to find solutions, find ways to push past the adversity, the things, the roadblocks that are holding you back from this new life that's in front of you. That's where I come in and also hold you accountable to the things that you said you were going to commit to, those disciplines. You need somebody like that. It's a lot of
I
day
want
and
you to
age. We,
I should
huh?
say, I want you to be so successful at this.
Thank you.
I believe in you.
Thank you.
I have, since I've met you, I've always thought you have something incredibly special inside you, and
Thank you.
I've always felt that there's just like a magic inside of you, and I think that one problem that we all have is, to one degree or another, is that we carry these resentments in ourselves, and some of them poison us severely. Some people, can get by with a couple of resentments, and if you, or I should say, you seem more prepared and capable of helping someone and guiding someone through dropping some resentments more than probably anyone else that I've met.
Mm.
And I, I I hope that you are incredibly successful. And I will, even after this podcast, after anything, I will continue passionately to try to not only share your story, but just to share your contact information with people who, everyone can level up. Everyone
Mhm.
can find someone that will give them a little bit of perspective and help them realize that some of the resentments they're holding maybe aren't serving them. And I just
Mhm.
feel like you are supremely equipped to do that.
I appreciate that, my man. I like to think the same. Having gone through everything that I've gone through and being where I am today, I think one of the things that has always given me pleasure is the life of servitude. helping those who can't help themselves or needs that extra push to get them to where they need to be in life. I remember being in a position where I needed help. I had nothing. I had nobody. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then my mentor came into my life, and the whole and that's what that was the beginning of a new perception for me of how I see myself and the world around me. So sometimes that's really all it takes is for you to finally admit to yourself that it would be good to talk to somebody with neutral ears that's ready to listen and that can give you sound advice from firsthand experience, not something that's from a handbook or a textbook or something learned from school, but someone who's actually lived it, applied these tools, they've worked.
Yep.
You can see it in their walk, you see it in their talk. Um, that's me, and it's genuine, it's from the heart.
Dude, I believe in you, brother. I love you. I'm so excited
Thank you,
about
man. Love
this.
you too, man. Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Signing off. Painful Lessons. Peace.